We're going to look at comparative advantage, supply and demand, and the like, wants, and needs of the market. It's super exciting. We're going to figure out what happens when people change their minds. It's going to be so cool, and you're going to enjoy every second. I promise you. Totally. This video will cover the like, wants, and need, and how production and opportunities change. To better understand how supply and demand works, we will look at what causes shifts and determines demand and supply. Here are some of the shifters that changes the demand of a product or service. One is the tastes and preferences, the number of consumers, price of related goods, income, and future expectations. The shifters of the supply line are prices, availability of inputs, that's also known as resources, number of sellers, competition, technology, government action, taxes and subsidies, expectations of the future profits. Sometimes supply and demand is impacted by politics. Some politicians will say that something is unfair. It's about the haves and have-nots. And if the have-nots don't feel happy about it, they will vote for a political official that will then regulate the ones that they are opposing. So sometimes the freedom of choice is actually also being a part of the equation. So any movement up or down, in or out, or along the line here for demand is a part of the equation for demand. And likewise, supply can slide up and down the supply line, and it could also shift. As a result, either price goes up or price goes down. Quantity decreases or quantity increases. Assume that a country has a deficit in their budget and they need to raise additional money. And they think to themselves, let's do this. Let's tax the rich by increasing the value-added tax on luxury items. And so they add a value-added tax that will increase the price. So always look at what happens here. They're looking to increase the price and hoping actually that everything will be held constant, that consumption will still remain at the same quantity. Unfortunately, because we have the freedom of choice, people might say, no, at this price level, the demand is going to decrease to somewhere here. And as a result, the quantity demanded decreases. So, from a micro point of view, the lines are typically straight. You have the supply line that consists of fixed costs plus variable costs equals the total cost. And this will be a representation of zero quantity produced and their fixed cost. And the more they can make, the more they're willing to supply. Now, on the other hand, the demand goes downwards. So as disposable income increases, yes, they would be willing to spend more. But as prices decrease, they're willing to spend more and buy more of a certain product. Now, in micro, the lines are typically straight. From a macro point of view, also suggested that as an aggregate, it's more of a curved shaped. Okay, and it looks at everyone in a nation, the rich, the middle class, and the poor, how they consume. So looking at production costs, so here we have a constant, which is typically how it looks like for a micro point of view, or even a company point of view. And here we have the constant. But from a macro point of view, it would be the bent lines and contain of all the suppliers, everyone they're supplying in the market. And as you have more people entering the market and everything else, you have the bent going out. So that's a little different between micro and macro. So a little fun example, assume that I would have $2,196 to spend on Budweiser or iPhones. Now the question is, I could either get lots of Budweiser but no new cell phones. Now my kids don't drink beer, so they probably would like to have iPhones. And if my wife also wants an iPhone, then it means that 3 people would like iPhones and I will just simply have less beer. Okay, so in this case, $1,647 would go to the iPhones in this example, and $732 would go to the beer. So these are the real examples of what a family needs to make a decision on, but also how a community makes decision and how an entire nation makes decisions. But they do it on a macro point of view, and they look at all the different choices that they have. So anytime there is a shock in the market and the changes of the like, wants, and needs by the ones that are demanding something changes, either up or down or up and down the slide here, that can give the suppliers an opportunity to do something different, come up with a new product, tweak it. And so always look for an opportunity to meet the upcoming demand, because people will change their minds of what is important to them, and it can go really fast. For example, no one cared about dust masks 10 weeks ago, but now when there's an invisible little virus out there named the corona, will cause people to want to buy face masks. There's no face masks in the world, and that causes the price to go up, and there's really little quantity available, and that's a natural supply and demand equation. People are bickering about it. They think it's unfair. Some people say it's really fair. Some people are just plain out angry. Once manufacturing increases, it will push the price down and quantity out, and everyone's going to have so many face masks that they don't know in 2-3 years why they actually have any, and they will probably throw them in the garbage. So if you understand the like, wants, and needs and the direction of the movements, either more expensive or less expensive, more quantity or less quantity, you can always figure out what's going to happen with the supply and demand. I hope you enjoyed this, and just so you know, the more videos I supply, the more your demand is going to increase for more of it. So I better get back at editing and making more awesome videos for you guys to watch. Okay? Don't forget, give me a thumbs up and like my page.